today I want to talk to you about why manifesting from your higher self is always better than manifesting from your everyday self. So I want to unpack this for you, and I want to give you specific applications and definitions, and then ways you can start applying this in your life so you can manifest from a higher conscious level through better intentions, through a manifestation that serves you, not the collective world around you. Because when you're living a wonderful life, guess what? That emanates and touches everyone that you come in contact with. Your family, your friends, your coworkers, people at the grocery store, everyone. So we all want to live that, right? We want to live a better, more wonderful life. So let's start unpacking that. So when I define the everyday self, I'm talking about the self, more of the ego self, the self that's been defined by logic and science and facts. It's more rigid. It always has to have a reason for, well, this is this, so this has to be this. I know that makes no sense, but you know what I'm talking about. That color is black, so it's black. Well, it's black to you. My son and I see colors very differently. So you start living in this very rigid world of how you see things. And it's brought about by conditioning, right? We are definitely conditioned by the world, by the institutions of the world, by our country culture, by our family, and most importantly, by our experiences and what we've experienced in life. That puts another layer of self. That's why you can't just be your personality type, because you can't be just that, because I just listed 3 other ways that other things influence and impact you, creating that self, that everyday self that you see in the mirror. So let's just make that really clear, because I'm not a big proponent. I'm going to show you a little excerpt from my book too as I get into this. But so these are the things that influence your everyday self. And for most part, it's back-asswards, because you're living backwards, because these things have already happened in your life. And yet we pull from those things every day and insist that they're the way to be now, in the present moment, the gift of today. What if that's not true? What if that's not the way? What if there's another way? And that's why I speak to this higher version of yourself, your higher conscious self. Yeah. Which I say, it's that divine spark that's within you. We have a divine spark that's within, right? Call it a God spark, call it your Holy Spirit, call it your heart center, the universal I, the great I, the Buddha within, the goddess within, the God within. I don't care what you call it, but it's a fractal of the consciousness that created the worlds, right? And how does it say? The word was spoken, then the world was created, brought into existence. That's the divine intelligence that you're tethered to. So my whole preface and my whole teachings and everything I do is based on this idea that how do we unionize them, right? How do we bring these into union? Because when we start bringing this into union, we start operating from the true self, right? But first, there needs to be an understanding of the everyday self, because it too can overshadow the true self, and it definitely shuts down the divine spark within you. It doesn't really shut it down per se, is that it doesn't speak in the same frequency that energy is. That energy is of a higher consciousness. It knows no fear. So how can you speak to a frequency that knows no fear? It's like trying to plug in a plug in the United States and then taking that same plug and trying to plug it in to a plug in Europe. They just don't fit. It just doesn't fit, so it doesn't work. So you have to kind of get into that. And I'm going to give you some idea of what I'm talking about from my book. I don't know if you're new, but I wrote a book. It's called Unpack Your Personality, Let Your Inner Guide Be Your Travel Guide. And it is about travel, but it's a very deep educational tool. A lot of people are saying, God, Nina, this is like a textbook. I'm like, oh, is that good or bad? And they're like, no, it's good. We just want more. And I'm like, okay. So it is, I'm telling you, it's a heavy read, but it's, and I hope it's something that you, if you do buy, you put on the shelf and you use it, because it's a tool, right? So let's talk about the conditioned world that we live in, right? So not only are we conditioned by our society, our parents, you know, our childhood, that family that was our family, you know, that is our family, our education, institutions, all of those things, right? But now, in today's society, we've layered in the internet. Okay, so this is how I speak this in my book, and see if y'all can relate. So, you know, the title of this one section within the introduction says, "Have cultural illusion infiltrated personality typing?" I definitely believe it has, and I think it has for the worse. And I think especially for Myers-Briggs, it's made it almost like a joke. But you see in our culture and our society, and I'm not going to get all biblical on you, but it was the same thing he did with Jesus. They were like, oh, look at, you know, they're laughing at him. And meanwhile, he was the one with the wisdom. It was the Pharisees and the non-believers that just, they couldn't understand it, because they were so embroiled in that, embodied in that everyday self. They didn't want to see anything different. This is exactly what's happening today. So when I speak about, you know, have cultural illusion infill personality typing, and I believe it has 1,000%. And here's what I say about that. I said, consider the sheer number of memes, GIFs, and those ridiculous 4x4 squares that define your personality type in the most pathetic ways. There is no end to the rabbit hole of personality typing. Unfortunately, the negative consequences of ignorant stereotyping are far-reaching, particularly online. Don't get me wrong, social media can be good, but it comes down to the user. Yet I often feel like a spectator watching a train wreck with all the shenanigans and stereotyping around personality typing. In all seriousness, how can one type be more intelligent, creative, or artistic than another? Let me read that again. In all seriousness, how can one type be more intelligent, creative, or artistic than another? These are reckless claims, often used to gain likes or followers. I personally don't believe the mother-daughter duo of Myers-Briggs ever intended for a Myers-Briggs theory to be belittling. Like it or not, we live in a society that labels things and people. We carelessly throw around words without a second thought about how they impact people. We believe in narratives without questioning or thinking. It's common for people whose opinions differ from those of the so-called experts to become targets of online bullying and stereotyping, a GIF palooza. And in those ridiculous 4x4 grids listing absurdly limited qualities for each of the 16 personality typing is a distasteful recipe for cultural delusions about personality typing. Here's a tip. Keep on strolling if you see a personality type grid or so-called guru claiming one type is better than another. It's a travesty, a big fat lie. So this is what makes these times more chaotic and harder to navigate when you don't know, when you're not trusting on that divine intelligence within you. Because we are so bombarded on every level by the shadows, the fears, the self-doubt, the limiting beliefs, all of those paradigms, right, that get pushed upon us, that we believe are true, which we know, if we really know ourselves and start listening to that true self, that higher consciousness, those begin to fade away. And let me read another little part in the book, okay? Because I went on further, but I don't want to read the whole thing because we'll be here forever. Now I wrote, is what I'm saying delusional thinking? Is this delusional thinking? You may be thinking, Nina, are you creating illusions here as well? I completely understand where you're coming from. However, let the truth of who you are answer that question. Step away from the collective constructs based on external programming. We've been programmed. It's conditioning. I ask that you explore deep within yourself to identify the who of who you really are. Just isn't prompted by what the world tells you. It's the whispers that come from within you, right? It's your highest, purest, and grandest intention in every moment. Your true self leading your life. Your true self will emerge, and your truth will emerge when you've mastered what's best for you in every golden moment. These loving energies emerge in peaceful and joy-filled ways, letting you know you're in your truth. So what I'm saying here is that, yes, there is a deep exploring, a deep dive into this inner being, a higher consciousness of yourself, your soul self, your sacred soul. But how you know when you're in that place is the feelings I just explored. You're in peace. You're in joy. You're in knowingness. The fears can't be. Because the fears can't exist with this higher frequency that's within you. Remember the plug? You can't plug one plug into an outlet that doesn't fit the plug socket gear, whatever you want to call that, right? So when you can come into that peace, or when you're making a decision and it feels really, really good, you know that's your inner divine spark of intelligence speaking to you. It's whispering. It will never be loud. It will never be belittling. It'll never have any kind of fear-based attitude with you at all. So if you begin to question just that, if that's all you take away from this video, you're like in the 1% of the people right now, because it's like 10% of the people in the United States, I think, is the Ehrlich study that said know themselves. So if you can get that understanding and that benefit, wow, it really helps, you know. And you have to be very aware of it, you know. And I'm not saying I do this every day. I am not perfect. I am so far from perfect. Come on. But what I am saying is, the cool thing is you can start observing yourself, right? And see how these external fears, self-doubts, and all these things start triggering you. When they do, the best place to go is back to your personality type. And see where in your personality type, where in your traits that these triggers might be coming from. They're stemming from somewhere in your personality trait, or a false belief that you're carrying based on the conditioning that you received, again, in childhood, from institutions, from life experiences. This is a deep dive. You're exploring here. This isn't easy work, but I believe it's your life purpose. Your life purpose is to get to your true potential, so you can share that pure potential with those around you, so they can have meaning and joy and peace in their life. They're experiencing what your experience is, and people learn from people. I mean, I love my book. It's the most precious thing I've ever done, and I love it. It's my work. But people don't learn from reading a book. You have to experience it. It's just the truth. It's my truth. Anyway, it can spark a new perspective that you can go out and experience and try. But until you experience it, you're not gonna gain the wisdom from it. So hopefully this is making sense. And if you have questions, of course, please pop them in the comments. And I'm just going to go on to say, I want to read this. The goal here. So the goal of all of this, and why I'm teaching you this and telling you this, is to gain at self-understanding, right? And I talked about this earlier. To gain this self-understanding, to put these two things in unity, the everyday self and the higher self, you want to build a bridge so they can talk. They get to know each other. Because where they're in that bridge, at the pinnacle, the top of the bridge, that's where your true self is. So it's like, ooh, I can understand the messages from divine intelligence. I'll go ahead and lower my frequency, because it has that power to do that, and talk to my logical everyday self. And I'll give you a little example of how this works. This is just a fun little thing for you. So you see, I'm always outside. I love being outside. And I'm sitting in my chairs, which are great. I love my chairs. But I'm like, ooh, wouldn't it be fun in the fall if, I don't know why I didn't think this before, if I get cozy in a lounge chair, right? And have just a little lounge chair where I can cozy up, read my books, have my tea or my coffee or whatever I'm doing, and just sit out and just be in this beautiful backyard, right? And so I started thinking about this. I'm like, I want a lounge chair. I want a lounge chair. And it has to be plastic, because I live in an area of the country, real high humidity. So wood gets real moldy and it just starts rotting, and the water, and it doesn't, I don't care how many times you shellac it. I've done it. It doesn't work for me. It doesn't work for me. I've gotten metal and it rusts and blah, blah. Like my chairs I sit are metal. They're starting to rust, which I'm really sad because I love them. And so I'm trying to take care of them. But, all these things. So I'm like, I just need plastic, and I hate plastic, but that's what I need right now, And don't worry, I'll recycle. If I ever give it away, I'll give it away to like Goodwill or something. So I'm big into, reuse and recycle. So anyway, so I'm thinking about this. So I start going online, looking around, I'm like, do I want to spend like $250 for like a plastic chair? Probably not. Let me look at some estate sales. Let me look. And I'm like, you know what? Why are you looking at the logical world to do this, Nina? You know better. So just put it in your heart. You want a plastic lounge chair that you can use, that's affordable, that you want to lay on, and you know what? Let's just let it go. So I just put it in. I said, you know what, divine intelligence, I'm giving this to you. You do it, right? And so I just kind of let it go. And a couple of days later, I'm in the store, and I'm like, oh, I need to go in the garden center because I need to get some soil for one of my plants. And so I popped in the garden center, and this is a serious thing. And if I could figure out how to turn the camera around and show you this, I would show it to you. I go in the garden center, lo and behold, there's a stack of plastic lounge chairs on sale for $15. I'm like, you've got to be freaking kidding me. So I'm standing in the store saying, thank you, God, for this. This is so cool, So here it is. So that's really how it works. You set the intention. Quit letting your logical mind trying to figure every single thing out. You're overthinking. Should I go on this side? Should I go on this side? Who's going to have the sale? It's Memorial Day. Is that going to happen? I don't know. All this stuff. It's not how it works. It's just not how it works. And see, we're all so tied to that. And it's so easy to be tied for it because it's what's in front of us. It's what we see. So this is not an easy thing because you have to believe in the unseen. And we live in a very sensory, seen world. So it's kind of like you're shutting one off and turning one on, right? But that unseen world, that divine spark within you, helps you manifest what you want. And that, my thing was a living example of that, Okay, let me just turn this around. I don't know if you guys will be able to see it, but I'm going to turn this around. Can you see? There it is. There it is. Yep. Just wanted you to know that this really happened, man. I'm not just making this stuff up. This is how cool this really works. So I want you to know why it's so much better to manifest from that higher conscious self. And so you begin this, But what I did, kind of observing yourself, what do you reach for? Do you reach for the external world first? I just did. I had to pull myself back, but this is years of practice too, folks. This is like 10 years of practicing this stuff. This is how really I navigated my tsunami. I kept on going out for some answers in this very challenging time. And I kept on running into brick walls. When I finally said, okay, I'm giving it all to you. And I had big challenges. I had like big stuff to overcome. But when I gave it to my divine inner spark, that higher consciousness, things started to slowly unfold. Things started to get resolved. Things started to change. My life changed. I've transformed. And I've done that by relying on this inner spark of divinity first. That soul, my soul aspect. Because we do have two aspects, right? We have a physical and we have a soul. And our physical is so tempting because it's just, we see it. You know? We just see it all. And so it's very, very tempting. And so this is not an easy thing to do. But once you start observing yourself, and how do you do that? I don't care. Go sit on a park bench. What triggers you? I think I've done this exercise here before. But like, what is triggering for you? If something is triggering for you, then you need to go back and look in your personality type and say, ooh, where is that in there? Or where is that in my life experience? I need to examine that. Because if it's triggering you, it's telling it's not part of you. Because if something's triggering, it's usually of a lower frequency, right? Unless it's triggering joy, or peace or something like that, But usually when we get triggered, triggers are usually associated with something that's of a lower frequency, a fear, a limitation, a self-doubt, an unworthiness. I'm not good enough, all that kind of stuff. So if you start looking at within your personality type, you're going to start finding that, or start looking at your life experiences. You'll start finding that and exploring that and uncovering that. This is the biggest tip I can give you. Be patient with yourself. I am the most impatient person on the planet, which is hard for me. I'm just impatient. It is not my personality type. ENTPs, we're on the go. Our thing is going so we can see and explore, see the patterns, the possibilities, the opportunities. I want to be there. I want to be going. But what I'm learning is this example with the chair. It's like, why am I going out and trying to figure all this stuff out? I want to do and see, where else can I go? What else can I do? Where else is there an opportunity? Where is there a possibility? Nope. Bring it all in and just say, okay, I've been foolish. I'm foolishly thinking I can manifest something better than you can, which obviously I was wrong again, but yeah. And so look, I manifested a $15 chair. Come on. Come on. That's cool, right? Drop a thumbs up if you think that's cool. Come on, you can do it too. If I can do it, you can do it. Believe me, if stubborn and patient me can do it, you can do it. Okay? So I just hope that this is a good beginning for you to start understanding this, because I talk about this a lot. So if this is something that interests you, and how Abraham Hicks talks about this, there's a lot of people that talk about this. Just relying on that inner spark of within you, the divine force. We are the creators of our reality. Look, I just manifested a chair. I didn't know it was there. I wasn't even planning on going there. I'm like, oh God, I have to go get dirt. Let me stop in here real quick, go get dirt. Okay, so, and look what else happened. And the dirt was on sale. It was a banner day. No, come on. That kind of stuff, these things, and how this is happening through you, you'll start witnessing when I did these, like, little surprises and these certain, serendipitous moments. It's the unexpected. It's the symbols that you see. Start studying symbols. Symbols are interesting. Like repetitive numbers. Some say those are angels. I believe in that. I don't know what you believe in. I don't like to define certain things, but the overarching ones, like serendipitous moments, unexpected, supernatural, illogical, those things I know resonate with all personality types. Now, beyond that, everyone's so different. So I'm not going to sit there and say, oh, this is how it's going to be for you. It's not. And I'd be arrogant to believe that I would think I know you better than you know you. I mean, I'm just as ridiculous then as those people that do the squares, those 1-inch squares, or the memes, or that say one personality type is more creative or whatever. Then, oh my God, creative in what way? Whose box is that? How do you define creativity? I mean, so there's I can't get into that right now because that just irritates the hell out of me when people say stuff like that about other people. Like, oh my gosh, stop. You know. But anyway, I hope this works. And there's a meditation on my latest blog. It's called Understanding Yourself, and there's 10 journal prompts. But at the very top of the blog, there's a little meditation that starts the blog. It says, Divine, please show me. So if you want to be on this path, you want to start understanding this, just say this prayer, Divine, please show me. And believe me, you'll get shown. Don't use that meditation if you're not committed. That's the exact meditation I used when I was standing on stage in New York City, winning one of the most prestigious travel awards. So I was all high, happy, blah, blah, blah. And I had this little voice within come in and say to me, Nina, is this what you really want? And I immediately said no. So obviously, I wasn't in the right place. Yeah, it was fun to win the award and get all the accolades and blah, 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 blah. But I said no so quickly. And I was stunned myself when I heard myself say that. No, immediately. So then I said this prayer. Divine, please show me. And within 3 months, my 7-year tsunami started. These were many years of learning, of evolving, of getting to know my true self, actualize my true self. And then I have to trust it to live that wonderful life. And I just demonstrated to you that I don't always trust it. I'm quicker now to say, oh, doing it again. Pop in, ask your divine self. You don't need to be searching, doing all this, you know. And it's going to be, and I'm an extrovert by nature, so it might even be a little bit more easier to step in if you're an introvert, because you couldn't actually kind of go in anyway. You're much more reflective. You know, you rely more, for the most part, you're just more reflective. Let me just say that, because again, all introverts are different. All extroverts are different. But I hope you enjoyed this. I'm going to give you some resources. Link to the blog. Link to buy the book. It's like $24 or $9.99. A Kindle's like $9.99. The book talks very, very obviously. It goes into a lot of detail, and it is like a textbook. So if you are committed and on a journey of self-understanding, that's a good place to go. But if you want to start somewhere, start with the blog. I have hundreds of blogs up. You know, book a one-to-one session with me. First of all, I help you identify so your personality is correctly identified, because, as you know, I'm not a real big fan of the online stuff, because so many times it's wrong. Like, people take a test and they're mistyped, which is so sad, because then you think you're this and you're not. And some of it has to do with the test. Some of it has to do with your state of mind. And, you know, there's all kind of things that goes into that. So if you want clarity sessions, you want to get real clear on who you are and how you show up in the world, and begin that self-understanding journey, I'm here for you. And it's like I have a calendar page that I'll just put a link in. So there's always resources. And if you're like, well, I don't like her, cool, don't like me. But there's so many resources online, on YouTube, on Instagram, you know. There's just so many. So I really want you to do this, whether it's with me or anybody else. I don't care. I just want you to do it. I just want you to understand yourself. Because, it's going to start raining here in a minute. But once you start understanding yourself, you're going to anchor in. You're going to ground yourself into you, into your true self. You're going to start actualizing your true self. You're going to start trusting that above all other stuff, above all the external crap. so you can live that wonderful life. Because you know what? It's going to get tough here, guys. And I want you to understand yourself. Because as the chaos and all this stuff starts tumbling down, you're like, yeah, but I know myself. I'm not going to say it's going to be easy. You're going to be like this little leprechaun that goes, oh, look, I'm good. Everyone else is... No. It's going to be challenging. But the cool thing is, you're going to rely on you and the gut instincts coming from your divine self, which always guide you in the right direction. They always have your back. That divine inner spark within always leads you on the path that you need to be on. I'm not going to say it's always an easy path, but it's the right path for you. It's the right path for your soul's evolution. I'm going to leave it there. All for now, Nina.